I'm going to go ahead and start. My name's Doug. I'm your training specialist with the Northwest MLS. And first off, as always, just want to let you guys know I really appreciate you letting me come into your office today and do some training. This is going to be focusing on the matrix stats generator. And as I always do in these classes, just kind of a little FYI, there is a previously recorded version of this that you guys can go back and watch again. So under the products and services, if you were to click on that up there in the top left-hand corner, and scroll down until you see way down. Whoops, let me try that again. Products and services, matrix and realist. Let's get it together here, Doug. Click on matrix and realist right there. And then scroll down to where you see the video tutorials. And we're doing a live workshop today, but we post these back here for you guys to go and watch again. And of course, it's being recorded, so you can watch it as many times as you want. But the one in here is again, just a previously recorded version. And it's this very first one right at the top here. Create a custom chart using the matrix stats generator. It's about an hour long, which is about how long I'll be here today doing this. So just want to let you know there's all kinds of resources in there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in here to the Northwest MLS homepage. And the first thing I want to just show you guys is that on your dashboard, on your matrix dashboard here over on the right hand side where it says edit dashboard, if you scroll down and look at the different options that are in here, there's going to be one called my stats. See that little one right there? If it's off, toggle it on, maybe rearrange the order of it, put it up where you can see it. I'll put it right up at the top here. So this my stats widget is essentially just a shortcut for widgets or for stats that you create yourself and save in Matrix. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't used that.
So yeah, and again, it's just a shortcut to get to what I'm about to show you. So the stats generator is right down here. Now there's two of them. There's a stats single family and there's stats cross property. And the only difference between the two, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the single family here real quick, is that the single family allows you to look at, let me make it a little smaller so you can see it a little better there. Let you look at residential, condominium, and manufactured home statistics. Okay, that's basically it. Whereas the cross property allows you to select different combinations of property types. So single family farm and ranch, for example, or residential, commercial, and so on. So you can kind of combine, look at vacant land stats, things like that, okay? So that's the only difference between these two stats generators. It's just the type of property you can select. So today, just to show you how to use the tool, I'm just going to focus on the single family, okay? To give you a little bit of an overview, on the left-hand side over here, there's three tabs. There's a preset tab, a customized tab, and then there's a save tab. The presets that are here, these are created by CoreLogic. And essentially what this means by having a preset statistical tool here is that if you were to click on one, and I'm going to go ahead and select days on market as an example. If I click on that, under the customization tab, you can see that it's already been customized. So the time frame that's in here, the chart type, and so on has already been put in there by CoreLogic. So it's just a quick stat, and it's going to have its own set of customizations. But you can change it if you want. You can select any of these and change the time period. You can change the chart type, whatever you want to do. Point being is that the presets that are in here are all customized in various ways. So they're, time frames could be 2 years, time frame could be 4 months, time frame could be year to date or previous 12 months, and so on. You can also create your own statistics. So the customization tab here, without selecting one of these presets, allows you to go in and create your own time frame, your own statistic. And by the way, there's a few more statistics in here than are in the preset section. So for example, there's one statistic here, sale price to list price ratio. That is a statistic that is not in one of the presets. So if you ever wanted to get a statistical outcome or output on that particular stat, you'd have to go to the customization and select it. And then, of course, the group by. Now, the group by groups it in various ways. So if you were pulling up a statistic and you wanted to see what the different sale prices, for example, the median sale price for different school districts were in the area, You could sort by school district, and the graph or the chart would actually say, here's the number for this school district, here's the number for this one, and so on. So Leavenworth, Cashmere, Wenatchee, that type of thing. So you could sort by that. Generally, most brokers, when they're pulling statistics, are always going to sort by month anyway. And as a matter of fact, if you do select certain statistics and then even add secondary statistics, you'll see down here where there's an advanced option. This actually allows you to compare more than one statistic. So you can say, I want to see how inventory is affecting sale price. You could pull up 2 statistics and see the graph and be able to discuss it and look at how one, and I'll demonstrate that today. But point being is that if you do add a secondary statistic, then the group by option down here, the sorting method, you're only going to get month as an option. You won't get all those other options in there. So you'll see this as we kind of go through. Now, in the middle section, just like you've seen when you go in and do a search for single family active listings, there's a map search, there's an area by county and city, there's the MLS area down below, and then there's additional fields below that. So you have the option of really fine tuning the data set in here if you want to. But generally speaking, sometimes, and think about this, when it comes to statistics, the smaller the data set, the more extreme movements you're going to see in the statistic, up and down movements. So if you were to pull the stats for Chelan County as an example and look at the county overall, or maybe the Wenatchee Valley, Wenatchee, Leavenworth, Cashmere, and so on. If you were to combine all of that, it would be a bigger data set. And when you see a change, for example, from number of listings from one month to the next, that change of number of listings won't be as extreme compared to if you just go in and say, I want to see the statistics for up on Western in Wenatchee, just in that little area up there. It's a very small data set. And so the number of listings change pretty drastically. So you'll have like 5 listings one month and 3 the next month. Well, that's a big change. So you'll see a big change or swing in that statistical number. So if you're going to generate these stats, think about it in 2 different ways. Think about it as if you're going to share this information with a client and you just want to be very specific about the numbers that you're generating for that specific area they live in, like a subdivision, that's one thing. But then think about it from the marketing aspect. If you're going to share statistics in a bigger pool of people, like in your marketing efforts, you might want to give it a little bit bigger data set, like the entire city or the entire county, because then the trends are more easily identified. You'll be able to see that as you're sharing that information. And again, I'll show you all this.
Yeah, I would think unless somebody's like, what's going on in my neighborhood?
But, yeah,
that's
exactly. And most often when you're sharing statistics with an individual like that, like in a CMA or something, then it's going to be real specific to the neighborhood. You might want to pull a statistic in a subdivision and compare that with what's happening overall, or comparing that with another subdivision to see what the changes are and so forth, or a gated community or something like that. Now, something else to think about is on the right-hand side over here, you've got multiple subtypes: residential, condominium, and manufactured. Know that if you're going to pull a statistic on residential, we're talking about stick built, but we're also talking about manufactured home on its own land. Okay. And typically, if you just want to pull up statistics, let's say on a manufactured home on its own land, then you'll select residential, but then you have to make sure that in the style code, which is one of the other additional fields down below, that you actually have to then select in here manufactured home, double wide, triple wide, and so on. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Anytime you're pulling a statistic for residential properties, it does include manufactured home on its own land. On the same token, if you wanted to pull statistics for manufactured homes in a mobile home park, then you would use manufactured, because that's specifically what it's talking about. Okay. So there is no, I guess, style code, if you will. You don't have to go down and select double wide, triple wide, but it's basically a manufactured home on leased land. Now, sale type, which is over here on the right-hand side, you notice it's gray. Well, what that means is that by default, all 3 of those options are selected. MLS for sale by owner or other MLS and seller representation agreement. And so if you're pulling statistics for median sale price, then this system is going to be looking for all three of those types of sales. Now, just to kind of explain what this is, MLS sale, that's a listing broker that belongs to the Northwest MLS and a buyer broker that belongs to the Northwest MLS coming together and making that sale happen. For sale by owner is not necessarily no brokerage involved. It's a seller putting their home on the market by themselves without a listing broker, but it is the buyer broker that is represented by the Northwest MLS representing a buyer. And so when that sale ends or when it closes, that buyer broker is required by the Northwest MLS to report that sale in the system. So it's considered an unlisted sale. And so that's going to make the statistics maybe deviate just a little bit, not enough to really make a difference, but I just kind of wanted to explain that, what that is. And then other MLS is where you're dealing with a property that's listed, let's say in the Spokane MLS or the Tri-Cities MLS, and you want to take a buyer down there to represent them in that sale. So it's not listed in Matrix. It's listed on Paragon and Spokane or Paragon down in the Tri-Cities. And then seller representation agreement is when a seller needs your help because he's already found the buyer and they just need to put that offer together and so on. So again, just keep that in the back of your mind. The defaults include all of those, and it's probably not going to be that big of a deal when it comes to the final outcome because there's very few unlisted sales that close in there. There's a few, and you might see that sometimes. If you ever pull up sold properties, you'll notice in there that they'll have the S for sold, and then it'll say S-UL, which means unlisted. That's what that is.
I've seen a decent amount of them lately, weirdly. Yeah, kind of more
Could be.
uptick for some reason.
Yeah. Maybe it has something to do with this new compensation thing or something. Who knows, right?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, we won't open that can of worms. All right. Okay, so again, just kind of giving you an overview right now. Now, on the right-hand side, way up at the very top right-hand corner, again, we're in the criteria. That's the tab that we have selected. Once we generate the chart tab will be available, and then the data tab will also be available. And so what you'll have the option to do is either share the chart and or the tabular data, or just the tabular data. And then you can also download the tabular data in a CSV file, which is a comma separated value. It's a Excel spreadsheet file. So if you're into doing your own Excel statistics and things like that, you can do that. And now this will all kind of come together as we're going through this. So let's just kind of move on. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody in the cloud there, in the virtual, anybody out there have a question? And don't be afraid of unmuting your microphone too. You're more than welcome to do that. Unmute your microphone and speak up. And you can do that at any time. If I'm going too fast, yell at me and tell me to slow down, okay? All right, so to show you how this works, on the left-hand side, using one of the system presets, if I wanted to just pop in here and say, I want to see what the active inventory is by month, I would click on that. It's given me the ability to customize if I want to, but it's already been customized. It's already given us a 12-month exclusive time frame. I could modify it. It's also given us a chart type called a column chart type, and it's grouping it by month. And notice it doesn't give us all those other options in there. So periodically that you're going to see that. But you can also go in here with one of these presets and say, okay, I just want to pull up active inventory by the month. I want to go in here to Chelan County and I want to pull it up for Wenatchee. And so I pull up the county, the city over here, and let's just do residential up on the top right. When I generate the chart, it's 12 months, okay? From August 23rd all the way through the end of July. Now, sometimes you'll see July's, or rather, you'll see August on the end. Every once in a while in some of these statistics, you'll see that. Just be aware that August isn't over with yet. So the data will most likely change by the end of the month. But most often you don't see that month, the current month on the end. And so this is the chart for active inventory by month. And it's, again, it's given us the past 12 months and it's sorted by column. Now, I could save this if I want to. And if I saved it, I could give it its own name, and let's just put on at the end on here. I'm going to kind of abbreviate this active inventory, and I'm going to put in here Wenatchee. All right. So I give it my own preset. I save that. It's now going to live in my preset tab as my own custom preset. And then that little dashboard widget that I mentioned to you, if you check the little box right there that says show on homepage stats widget, it puts it on that widget on your dashboard. But it's just a shortcut. So if I save this now, number one, I've got it right down here as a preset. If I go to my dashboard, it's sitting right over here on my stats widget. So that stats widget, again, is just a shortcut. Does that mean I can go in here to my stats matrix single family and click on that particular preset saved statistic there? Sure, I can pop in there. But if I just want to go in here month after month after month and generate something for my marketing sphere or what have you, I can just easily just click on that, and it's already going to take me to where I need to be. So the criteria is already preset for Wenatchee and everything else. So you can set up all kinds of different types of presets here, either using one of the customized presets or creating your own. Now, if I go back over here to the left-hand side, let's go back up here and clear everything. If I choose to use my own preset, and let me clear everything in the middle here. I'm just clearing everything in my criteria, starting with a clean slate. I can go over here to the left-hand side and pick any data point I want, any time frame, 2 years, 12 months, 6 months, and what have you. Now, a couple of different scenarios. You're dealing with a seller, or you're dealing with a sphere of influence, let's say your subdivision that you're marketing to. Are you going to use a past 4 months statistic for your neighborhood, for your subdivision? Maybe. But more than likely, that's not really going to be reflective of what has happened in the past and maybe what's going to happen in the future. All it's going to do is show a very short period of time to show somebody what's happening. Now, if you're sending that out month after month after month and somebody's actually tracking it, sure, they could go in there and say, okay, I noticed that 2 years ago or 6 months ago that it was here, but now it's over here. And they might have their own little way of tracking that. But if you're sending this out on a month-to-month basis to a subdivision and all you're giving them is a 4-month period of time, well, what happens when they take that little flyer that you sent and they round file it? They put it somewhere that they don't want to look at it anymore, and they're not keeping track of it. And then they get the same report the next month. Well, then they have to think, well, what happened? Well, you're going to have 4 months, obviously, but what happened, let's say last summer, what happened last fall? They're not going to have that information in front of them. But a longer period of time allows them to identify the trends. So again, if you're talking with a seller that's potentially going to list their home, maybe I want to use a 4-month period of time because I just want to show them, here's what's been happening in the last few months in your area. But a longer period of time shows the trend. It says the market 6 months ago or a year ago was here, and now based on what I'm looking at, the market's here. So I can identify where it's been and where it's going. And sometimes you can even look at those charts and see the seasonal impact that fall and winter have on the market. You can actually identify that. So I'm going to show you a whole bunch of cool little things in here. So if you set up your own customized statistic, pick your time frame. I'm going to just do a 6-month just for fun, a 6-month period of time. I'm going to pull in a statistic, and you'll notice in here there's all kinds of different statistics: days to sell average, days to sell median. You're going to see averages and medians. So hopefully you understand the difference between an average and a median and how that's calculated. But let's just go in here and pull up, let's say, median sale price. And we'll group it by, let's just do month to make it simple. Let's group it by month. And then we'll go over to the middle here and we'll kind of do the same thing. Now I can go to the map if I want to, or I can go in here and select Wenatchee, or I can even go down and select an MLS area and a community, which is also something you might do. So if you want to pull up Sunny Slope, for example, you could go to the MLS area for Wenatchee and probably pull up the community of Sunny Slope. But again, you could also go to the map, and that's just going to require you to go into the Wenatchee area here. Let's see, right there. Zoom into a location. I'll just pick a small part of Sunny Slope here. Grab one of my draw tools. I'll just do a radius. pull my radius up, click OK. And now I've selected the area. I do residential. And again, I'm going to go ahead and just do MLS sale type on the right and generate it. And when I generate it, this is what my 6-month chart looks like. Now, here's a good example about the data set. Sunny Slope, that radius, very small data set. Nothing happened in April of this year. Look at the extreme change from March to April. Look at the jump up to May. Look at the big jump up to July. And again, that's evident because of the smaller data set. When you have a small data set, you're going to see bigger changes. And so you have to, as a statistician, be able to identify what's going on there and explain that to your client. Now, if
Oh, sorry.
no,
In my brain, I always second guess if I really understand median versus the average. So it's median, it's like they're looking at the lowest and the highest and kind of just throw what's in the middle.
let me
'Cause I'm
show
trying
you.
to think of what one is actually more helpful to share.
Well, okay, you're gonna, okay, let me do this. This is the easiest way to do this, okay? I'm gonna put in here 10 homes that have sold. 8 of them sold for 300,000. So I'm just gonna drag 300,000. I know that's a pretty simple
No, that's
number.
great.
One of them sold, one sold for 1.5 million, one sold for 2 million. Okay, so there's 10 home sales in an area. Now, median is a statistical word that means middle. So when you think about the north-south freeway, you got a divider in the middle, that's the median. And so the middle, sorting these from low to high or from high to low, means that that is the median sale price. Now, obviously, since there's 2 in the middle, you'd have to take the average of those 2. But essentially what you're looking at is a median sale price of $300,000, right? That's the median sale price for all these homes. The average is taking all of these, adding them up, and dividing it by the number of homes that actually sold. And so if I added all those up, it's $5.9 million. I can see that way down here at the bottom right-hand corner of my little spreadsheet. So it's $5.9 million divided by 10. So the average sale price in that same group of homes is $590,000. So here's the big question. If you tell a seller the median sale price in an area is $300,000 and I tell them it's the average is $590,000, who's right? Well, you both are.
Mhm.
But as a statistician, you have to be able to tell them what it is that they're looking at.
Mhm.
So if I'm telling them it's $300,000, I'm going to tell them that when you sort those properties from high to low, the ones that are right about in the middle, they're going to be $300,000. Kind of a little bit more reflective of what's happening for most of these homes in here. But if I tell them it's $590,000, 8 of those folks are going to get pretty doggone excited because they're going to want to sell their home for $590,000. And so I have to say, it's because of these higher priced waterfront properties that pulled that average up. And if we were to take those out of the picture, then our average would come a little bit more down to where it makes more sense reality wise.
Okay.
So a lot of times when you see average, they take that out. They take out the highs and the lows and so forth. On the same token, if I made those 2 homes right there, $250,000 each, then my median is still 300, but my average would be 290,000. So it would actually be lower. So just as long as you understand that and can explain that to a client, that's what's going to matter.
Love that. Thanks.
So you'll see, yeah. So you're going to see that in all kinds of different situations when it comes to statistics. Matter of fact, a lot of times you see average days on market as opposed to median days on market. Well, take a look at the list of all the properties that are on the market and identify why the average is so much higher than the median. And it's probably because there's some multi-million-dollar homes in there that are taking longer to sell. So it's pulling that average up. Same type of thing. Okay, so I go in here, I get this preset put together, and I have a 6-month period of time with a median sale price and a column point. Now, on the style option right over here, I can change a few things. Well, first of all, let me show you the chart. I can change the chart. If I want to go in here and make it a line chart, I can select line and regenerate the chart. Okay, doesn't really help you, does it? Well, again, we're looking at a very small data set. And can you identify a trend right there? Well, you would think if you were to look at that, you would say the trend is going sky high. It's just shooting straight up. Probably not. A smooth line kind of smooths the lines out a little bit, so it makes that little edges not quite as sharp. And then, of course, you've got your other ones here, area and smooth area. I won't go into all those. I pretty much focus on either column or smooth line, which I'll show you. Now, below that, you have a style option. And the style option here allows you to go in and say, I don't like that color. Give me a different color. Now, I have to tell you, all the colors in here are ugly. So you guys can go in and play around with the colors. Just, hey, bright pastel, generate. Okay, there you go. Woohoo, beautiful, right? I pretty much stick with the default. You guys can play around with that. Now you have a fill style here, and we're not talking Dr. Phil. We're talking about the actual shape of the column. So the plain view, a cylinder, which I think gives it a little bit more flair, just makes those little columns over there on the right-hand side look a little prettier. So you can play around with the different fill styles in here. I don't need to go through that with you and show you. And then below that, you've got the option to display the values. So if I select this box here and generate, it's going to put the values right at the top of each one of these little columns, which is good. But what if I switch this to a 2-year time frame up here at the top with the same information and generated it? It would look like a big old mess, wouldn't it? So it doesn't really work very well with a longer period of time, probably a shorter period of time. But again, you can display the values, or you could change it to a 3D chart style, and that would kind of just take it and twist it a little bit. Sometimes that's kind of fun to play with as well. Okay, so setting up your chart and pulling up statistics. Let me ask you guys this, does one statistic really give you an idea of what's happening in the market? And I would probably say no. I can show somebody this is what the average or median sale price is. I can show somebody what the months of inventory time on the market is. I could show them how many listings are actively on the market right now. But a lot of times statistics affect other statistics. And so as an example, if I were to go in here and use my own customization, I could say, let's look at a longer period of time. Let's stretch it out here to 2 years. Let's go ahead and just pick in, let's do the valley. So let's do Kashmir, Dryden, not Lake Wenatchee. Let's do Leavenworth, Malaga, and maybe let's do Monitor, Peshastin, and Wenatchee. Okay, so we pretty much grabbed most of the towns here in the valley. And I'm in Chelan. So that's a pretty good data set. I've got a 2-year period of time in here. And my first statistic is going to be active number of listings. Now, this one here heavily impacts a lot of other statistics, and I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to change the chart type here to a smooth line, and I'm grouped by month. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hide my style options. I'm going to generate the chart because I want to show you first off what this looks like. And so number one, as I'm looking at this, I see a lot of highs and lows. I see over here on the left-hand side in January that there are X amount of number of listings in that area.
Map area is still selected too.
What's that?
I think your map area for that
Was it?
city is still on there.
Oh, let's clear the map. Way to go, Doug. All right, let's try that again. Okay, here we go. That looks a little better. Okay, sorry about that. Hey, you know what? Just because I'm a trainer doesn't mean I know how to train. All right, so I'm looking at this statistic here. This is pretty much the valley. And then look at this. Every time we get into the January season, inventory seems to be a little bit lower. It's a little bit higher here, but again, it's in the lower point. Every time it's spring and summer, inventory has a tendency to jump up, doesn't it? So we got high inventory. That means that there's a lot of homes on the market. So what is this telling me? It's telling me that inventory is a seasonal thing. But what if I add a second statistic? Let me see if I can stutter that statistic here. So you have an advanced option right here. And the advanced option actually allows you to add a secondary statistic. And so watch this. I'm going to select months of inventory, time on the market. I'm also going to use a smooth line chart, and I'm going to generate the stat for the same area. And I want you to notice in here, except for this funny little period of time right here, that most of the time, and that might have been because of interest rates or who knows, right? Most of the time, months of inventory pretty much follows inventory or active number of listings. So as inventory is low, time on the market seems to be low. Okay, right over here and right over here. Ignore that little bump right there. There's something that happened there. You have to know what that is. Somebody's going to ask you what happened during that time frame to make that jump up. I don't know if it was interest rates. I don't know what it was, but something did. But every time inventory goes up, so does time on the market. Every time inventory starts to go down, so does time on the market, and so on. So what I'm seeing here, and I'm going to be talking to my seller, I'm going to be saying to them, if you put your home on the market now, in the summer, in April, in May, in June, you're going to be competing against more properties, aren't you? Which means your time on the market is going to be a little bit longer because there's more for buyers to choose from. So therefore, it takes longer to sell. In the winter months, you may not have as many sales, but homes have a tendency to sell quicker because there's less inventory for the buyers to choose from. And so homes go on the market and they disappear pretty quick. But what else does that mean? Well, first of all, if I'm talking to the seller, I might say to the seller, after I've asked them a bunch of questions and they've told me that they want to try to put their home on the market and get it out from under them in a month or even 2 months, I have to look over here on the right-hand side and tell them that inventory is going to be affected by that. Months of inventory is going to be affected by active listings. So if you want to get your home sold quicker, you might want to think about putting your home on the market at a time when there's not as much inventory to kind of meet your goals. Now, the secondary statistic over here, if I change this to median sale price, how does active number of listings affect sale price? Well, low inventory, median sale price goes up. When inventory increases, and if you look and imagine a straight trend line right down through there, watch my mouse kind of move there. Even though there's a little bit of ups and downs there, it generally is trending down because there's more inventory, which means sellers have to be a little bit more flexible on their pricing to get it sold. They may not be able to put it at the very top of the market. And they might also have to make it a little bit lower price to get it sold before the competition because there's more competition. Inventory starts to go back down again, median sale price has a tendency to go back up. And again, when inventory goes up, median sale price starts to stabilize or maybe trend down a little bit. Drop in inventory and increase again in median sale price. And so the idea here is two things. If I'm showing this in a 6-month chart as opposed to a 2-year, can I identify that trend? Probably not. It's not as easy to see. But if I pull it out to a longer period of time, it's easier to identify exactly what's going on because, again, it's a historical view, if you will, of what's been going on, which indicates, again, what happens if inventory starts to creep down again because we're getting into the fall months. And if that happens, then there's a chance that inventory or that median sale price might stabilize or maybe even go up a little bit. That's what it's telling me. Now, just for fun, I have one more I want to show you in here, but I also want to show you something else. We talked a little bit about median sale price and average sale price. I want to compare average sale price to median sale price just to show you something here, which I think is interesting. So watch when I generate this. Notice the green line. The green line is average. The blue line is median sale price. And it almost always follows each other exactly, except average is always a little bit higher than median, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to share that with you. Let's go back to active number of listings. And let's go down here to sale price to list price ratio. Now, this is when you put a home on the market. You put a home on the market, it's listed at 100%. Where does it sell? Does it sell for less than 100% or does it sell for more than 100%? How does inventory affect that? So let's look at the chart here. Well, low inventory, sale price to list price ratio is above 100%. When inventory goes up, that has a tendency to drop back down because sellers have to be more flexible in their pricing. So when they put it on the market, they have to negotiate a little bit to get their home sold. When inventory goes down, sale price to list price ratio starts to creep back up to 100%. So homes are selling for what they're being put on the market for. Up it goes, down it goes, down it goes, up it goes, and so forth. So that's kind of a little bit of an overview of some things that you might do if you're going to be talking to a potential seller. You might be asking them things like, where do you want to price your home? Well, I want to put it at the very top of the market. I want to put it on for as high a price as possible in hopes that I can get the best dollar for that particular sale. Well, that may be just fine and dandy if it's a slower time of the month, but if inventory is pretty high, you might have a little bit more difficulty selling it at that high price unless your home is just so pristine and outweighs everything else, then it's possible to do. But if you were to compare apples to apples and try to do that, chances are the other home's going to sell before yours is because they're lower priced and there's more inventory, which means you're probably going to have to reduce your price, which means your sell price to list price ratio is going to go down and so on. So this is an example of how you might use these statistics. Now, getting back to a couple of different things, and I'm just going to let me ask you this first, guys. Is there any questions about any of this? Anybody online?
It's on Zoom.
Okay. All right. And if you have a microphone, you're welcome to unmute. Okay. So when you're generating these statistics, I was showing you some different things here. I'm going to go ahead and hide this secondary statistic here just for a second. And I'm going to pull up a year-to-date time frame for, let's just do median sale price. That seems to be a popular one here. And we'll do a column chart. I'm just kind of playing around with this a little bit. And so let's go ahead and generate a chart for the same criteria, but just for median sale price. So once again, imagine the trend line. This is a year to date. So we're only talking about basically, and you'll notice in here, August is in here, but August isn't over with yet. So that number right there is probably going to deviate a little bit at the end. But if we look at this right now, we're looking at year to date. So we're basically looking at 7.5 months. And so this trend line does look like it is kind of going up a little bit here. But again, it's really hard to tell by just saying it's a 12-month or a 6-month or an 8-month, because once you go out here to 2 years and look at that, it's a little easier to identify. Lower in the winter months, higher in the summer months, and vice versa. Or did I just contradict myself? But you get the idea, okay? I think I did, actually. All right, so what I wanted to show you in here is that when you're generating this chart, you also have this data tab up here at the top. And the data tab, all this does is show the same information in tabular format. So when you go to print this information, you have two choices. You can print the chart with the tabular data by going down to the very bottom down here and showing it and then printing it. Or if you want to, you could just print the tabular data and hide the chart. But the other thing about this is that the tabular data is exportable as a CSV file. And I know sometimes you run across clients that like to have that because they're spreadsheet people. So you can download this. It's a CSV file, which means it's just basically a spreadsheet file without any formatting. And if you were to open that up and look at it, all you're going to see is this. It's not really going to give you much information other than what you see right here. So there's no formatting or anything. And technically, you could create your own charts from this data just by going up and inserting and creating your own column chart. You could pick whatever you want in here. You could pick different colors. You can pick different styles. And if you wanted to, you could even take this information and copy this chart and put it in your own newsletter. So this is just an example of what you could do with that CSV file. Some people, like I say, they like to have this information and they like to do things with it with their own statistics. Questions, comments, thoughts? Anybody?
It's nice you can get as nerdy as you'd like to be, because you don't know if your client's the nerdy type that wants.
I've seen,
prepared.
yep, and I've seen clients that are nerdy types too. They like those spreadsheets. And a lot of times what's interesting is if you ever come across a client like that, I would recommend that you really do some Google searching on these different statistics to learn about, number one, how they're calculated and what they represent and what they mean. Because inevitably, if you get somebody like that, they're going to ask you things about the stats. And so you're the statistician. You're the one that's pulling the data. Now, how you pull the data and what data it is that you pull, you're going to have a result. Then you have to look at that. You have to interpret what it's saying and be able to explain that to your client. But generally speaking, it's not too difficult. All right, I'm going to go back over here to the preset for a second, and I'm going to go and show you, and you can delete these two, by the way, down at the bottom here. I'm going to delete this real quick. And I want to show you how I might set my dashboard widget up to reflect all the wonderful things that I want to reflect. So I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to create 3 different things in here. So one of them, and they're all going to be a 2-year time frame. The first one is going to be my active number of listings by chart type here, smooth line. And I'm going to go ahead and add in months of inventory here as a secondary statistic. And this one will be also a smooth line. And I'm going to go ahead and just I'll do area. Let's see, it's 9. What is it? 971. Okay. Let's just do 971. So I'm going to generate the chart and then I'm going to save it. So it's right now accumulating a lot of data. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to call this active inventory, months of inventory area. I could type 971, okay? Saving it as my own preset, putting it on my dashboard widget, saving it. Then I'm going to go back up here and do this again. I'm going to go ahead and change. I'm going to leave my criteria the same, but I'm going to change this one here. And this one, I'm going to go down and put it in as median sell price and generate that. But I'm going to use current criteria now. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And this one is going to be median sell price. Whoops, hang on a second there. Try that again, median sell price. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. So I'm creating my own presets down here. Whoops, what did I just do? Overwrite one of my other ones? I sure did. Point being is I can create these down here and I can go back to my dashboard at any time, click on that statistic, and then go to my criteria here and say, okay, even though I'm looking at 971, I'm going to change this one because my presets are already there on the left, my active inventory and my median sell price, but I'm going to do East Wenatchee now on that area. So I'm going to go ahead and generate it. But when I generate it, this time I'm going to use the current criteria, which is not the criteria I'm using when I created it, which is 971. So I then go and generate that chart and I get a completely different graph in here. And then I can go ahead and send that out to my clients if I need to. But basically the dashboard widget is just a shortcut to get into these statistics here. Anybody have any questions? Anybody?
Will make sense for your newness to real estate.
No, that's great.
Okay, I got one more thing to show you guys here. So let's see, let's go in here and
No, this stuff's fun for me. I'm slightly nerdy.
okay, I'm going to share my mobile app. So you guys are looking at my phone right now. This is my Android phone. And this is the Northwest MLS mobile app. So if you are not familiar with that app, I highly recommend that you learn about it. But there are some statistics in here in this particular app. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. And you're going to have to ignore my branding, I think, because I have a branding in here for Sotheby's or something like that.
And
We
how
don't.
did you get into, what do you use to do this? Because this is fun.
How do I get this up on my screen here?
Yeah.
I'll show you. It's called mirroring 360.
I have a Mac, so I.
So I have mirroring 360 on my laptop and I have it on my phone. So I just turn them both on and then they connect wirelessly.
Okay, love that.
Yeah, they connect wirelessly. So here's what I want to show you. So this is the Northwest MLS mobile app. And all I want to emphasize in here today is the map search right here. I'll show you 2 things. One of them doesn't have anything to do with statistics, but in the map search right here, when I'm looking at the map, Okay, now I have, let's see, let's access it only while I'm using, okay. So here I am, there's me somewhere down here. And let me zoom out a little bit. So as I'm looking at the map right here, depending on where I'm at, and I can do this a couple of different ways. I can zoom in a little bit so I'm not seeing quite as much information if I need to. I can also go and use my draw tool over here, and I could define an area using my draw tool like so. But whether I'm looking at the map, so if that draw tool wasn't there, let me uncheck the pencil. If I'm looking at my draw tool from this top left corner of the map to the top right corner, down to the bottom right corner, the bottom left corner, that entire map right now, if I click on the stats tab, it's showing me statistics for that particular view. So it's showing me on the market properties. I can tap sold and leased and look at that information and even change my little slider to have maybe select a shorter period of time, for example. I can look at off-market properties there too. So everything that I'm looking at on the map is what's going to portray in the statistical tool tab right up here at the top. Now, going back to the map again, if I draw using the draw tool, a small little area like that, then whatever's in that little radius that I just drew is what's going to be reflective of what's in the stats here. Same thing, on market, sold, leased, and off market. So it's nice because if you're out and about with a client showing them properties and they want to know what homes are selling for around an area,
Yeah.
all you have to do is just quickly pull up the stats tab, pull up the map first of all, go to wherever your location is by clicking on your little bullseye. And I think on an iPhone, I think it's a little arrow key, but I think it's right up here at the top. But either way, just find your location and then just either draw a little diagram using the pencil tool or just pull the map up in that area and you're going to be able to pull up the stats.
Can you click stats one more time?
Yep, right up there at the top.
So at the days in MLS 225, does that count like the time period that something's pending?
No, that is just basically what's on market right now. What's the average days on market? And as a matter of fact, if you look at the fine print right over here,
Okay.
it does actually say average days on market. And so take a look down below that. 0 days is the shortest time. Well, that basically means it's something here that you just put on the market in the last less than 24 hours.
Mhm.
And then 225 days, well, there's something out there somewhere that's been on the market for a long time. It's either way overpriced or nobody wants to buy it. And so that average is being pulled up. It may not be the median days on market, but it is what it is. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you real quick that is not a stats tool is way down here at the bottom right, this little pancake menu or hamburger menu or whatever you want to call it menu. Let me go down here to brand and share. Now, again, forgive me because I think mine is going to say Sotheby's. So let me, oh, no, it doesn't. Good. Yay. All right. So look at over here on the right in the presets, Keller Williams, apply. That gets branded and then you apply it down at the bottom. So two things happen. Number one, when you share this app with your clients, it's going to have your branding all over it. And the other thing is when you send a listing to a client through Matrix and they open it up in the One Home portal, the One Home portal is going to be branded with your logo up on the top left and stuff too. So this is a pretty cool little feature. And you can market this and so forth. There's a little share my app button down at the bottom down there. But that is just a quick little overview about the mobile app and the statistics that it provides. Okay. Anybody have a question? Make sure you click apply and save your changes. Yep. Well, guys, that is pretty much it. That's the Matrix Stats Generator. I
Doug,
hope
I have a question.
it's
Sorry.
helpful in the sense that you know that there are some presets in here, or you can customize your own stats. You can save them to go back to them time and time again, month after month after month to send out to your clients. Put it on your stats widget. And then again, you've got the option to print the charts along with the data if you want to, or download that as a CSV file.
Yeah. Now having the Cause I think a lot of the times we just go like, oh, what's the average square foot or whatever, and. Yeah, kind of having those secondary statistics to really see how stuff
Right.
affects each other is not really something that I had done before to kind of explain the up and downs and how they correlates. Yeah,
Now, I see a microphone unmuted there. Is it Yesenia? Yesenia?
Yeah,
I can't hear you.
see
Can you
here.
check your audio on your Zoom meeting there, but do you have a question or do you want to just type your question in the chat panel?
yeah.
Can you hear me now? No.
I can see it. I can see you trying to
Can you hear
talk
me
there.
now? Okay,
Can't hear
let
you
me
though.
starting.
Hold down where it says your screen sharing in the middle.
Oh, down here.
So yeah, your audio. Okay, let's see
Yeah,
if
it's,
she's-
it's probably a setting there. Let's see. How can we share these stats to social media? Well, the matrix stats generator here doesn't give you the option to share to social media, but the InfoSparks does. That's an entirely different statistical tool. Just so you know, in here, when you're generating your stats, whatever stats you're generating, you do have the option to share this information. And my screen is so small, big here, I can't, there we go. See this little share option right here? When you generate your stats, however you generate it, you can share this in social media as live data. And it's going to generate a URL or a web link. And that's the link that you want to share in your social media. I know that's kind of a quick overview, but unfortunately, it's not a part of this class today.
Yeah, Yesenia, I can show you that a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I would encourage you guys to do that too. So I can come back another time and do an InfoSparks workshop, or we can do it virtually for your office or however you want to do it.
Yeah, I love learning all the things. So, do you do more? Well, I'm trying to think of what other classes would be helpful.
I teach, just so you know, I'll show you here real quick.
You have one that's like, most popular. I mean, they're all helpful, sure.
In the education portal here, I teach everything. Except for the summit stuff. That's the summit. And by the way, you guys sign up for the summit. Come to the summit on October 3rd. I teach basically CMA foundations, cultivating your farm, farming with Matrix and Realist, going paperless, Matrix 1, Matrix 2, Transaction Desk 1 and 2, Realist, mobile MLS. I mean, everything in here, not to mention all the workshops. And there's a bunch of different workshops in here. So I'll email you a flyer of all the different things I train on and stuff like that. So
And what is the summit? Is that just a training?
this summit here, well, let me show you on the Northwest MLS homepage. Go here to the Northwest MLS homepage, scroll all the way down to the bottom, right down to that See All News. Let's see, I was on the other page there a second ago. Where did it go? There's something about it in, let's see.
Of course, they disappear as soon as we.
Yeah, it disappears. See All News, let's see. Oh, for Pete's sake, I don't even see it in here. All right, let's go up here to the search box. Let's type in summit. In-person fall summit events. 4-hour event, overview of current events in real estate. And it's going to have Justin, the CEO, Jeannie, the legal, and myself. So October 3rd, it's going to be at the Wenatchee, the Confluence Technology Center. And it's going to be from 1 to 5. It's kind of a networking thing. And there's going to be clock hours and refreshments and yeah, just a bunch of chit chat and things like that that's going to be going on.
Sweet.
But yeah, sign up for that.
Oh, CMA classes.
Yeah,
That's one thing I know I took one years ago and I just haven't really found one. CMAs are hard, especially if you don't have like a cookie cutter house. It's like, oh, brand new build that Sage Homes does all the time. And it's really
Yeah,
easy to
yeah.
find comps. And I haven't really found wonderful training on how we really deal with the unique ones. Cause I know, I mean, appraisals, you know, are a whole different thing, and they have, I guess, a lot more training on like,
Yeah.
how do you really adjust numbers wise for one more bedroom or one more bathroom? And I haven't really found,
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly say that the CMA Foundations class that we teach is that precise, if you will. I mean, we'll go in and we'll show you how to use the tool to make adjustments, but it's hard for us as trainers to tell you that, you know, if you are going to adjust for an additional bedroom, here's exactly the number you need to put in. I can show you where to put it in, but problem is every market's different.
yeah,
And all I ever say is I say, you know, hey, make friends with a broker that's been doing it forever and ever. If they do make adjustments, make friends with an appraiser, take them out to lunch, ask them questions, talk to a builder, talk to a contractor. You know, when I did real estate, I did it for 17 years. And when I did CMAs, I didn't ever do adjustments ever, not once, because it just didn't matter. I mean, here's what homes were selling for in this area. This is what you need to put your home on the market for. And off we went.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's really hard. I did a couple of couple situations sometimes when I had, for example, a manufactured home on land out in the middle of nowhere. Matter of fact, it was over in Lincoln County, over past Davenport, way just out there in the middle of nothing. And it's like, how do you do a CMA when there are no comps around? And so I had to do it from a cost approach. So I said, how much does land sell for around here? How much does a manufactured home of this quality sell for? If I was going to replace it, how much is a shop like this size cost to be built? How much does it cost to put it in a 150-foot well? How much does it cost to put it in a 1,000-gallon holding? All that stuff, and then put it all together and came up with the price, and we ended up selling the home, and they were happy. So
yeah, you just got.
it's a tough one. CMAs are hard.
Yeah. Gave me a guide of like a bedroom's this much and a bathroom's this much, and then as, you know, years went on, like there's a Facebook group, Ask the Appraiser. And they're, I mean, what I found is like, that guide doesn't really, you know, when it's 4 years old, and I'm not a builder, I don't know how much adding another bedroom is, or, so yeah, I guess being besties with an appraiser and feeding them and taking them to lunch is probably.
Making buddies with an appraiser.
Yeah.
It's hard. You know, and the other thing too is that if you're comparing one house to another, and let's say they're cookie cutter houses and they're identical number of bedrooms and baths, but one has all these different amenities like granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, things like that, and the other one is run down and beat up and things. So it's like, okay, well, now we're dealing with other material that has an impact on value. This one has a new roof, that one needs to have a roof, you know, that type of thing. That's tough.
Yeah, CMAs are, it's hard to feel 1000% confident in a CMA. Just
You know,
every house is so different.
when I started real estate, I started in Spokane. And in Spokane, there's a neighborhood called Shadle up on the north part of town. And all the homes up there were built around 1945, give or take a few years. We called them war boxes because they were all built right after the war. And they're all, you know, 3-bedroom, 2-bath little bungalows is what they were. And it was easy to go in there and say, oh, everything else is selling around here for that. That's what that one should sell for, you know?
Yeah.
But then you look at, like, if you ever went on the MLS and went over and looked at homes in the Bellevue area, just to kind of see how they're pricing them and all the different things that these homes have. I mean, it takes time and practice to know that, oh, that's got this particular construction style. And here's the architect, Kirtland Cutter built this home. So we know it's already worth, you know, $1 million more than that home because that one was built by Joe, the contractor, you know. I mean, there's so many different things and it just comes with practice and experience. Something I encourage brokers to do is anytime, like, for example, if you see a home come on the market, if you have time, do your own CMA on that home that was just listed and see if you come up with a value that is similar to what they come up with. You know? And then keep an eye on it and watch and see what it sells for. You know?
It's very smart, yeah.
Just practice.
That's gonna be our homework. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's both do it. Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you letting me come in here and cause trouble.
Yeah.
And I hope you'll let me come in here and cause trouble another day. So thanks again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Do you
I'm gonna get out of your hair.
Yeah, you can just hit
I'm gonna end the
end.
meeting, everybody. Bye. Thank you.